Yeah, this is it. And you want to put this thing pretty close to your face, and you can move this thing however you want it.
All right.
And then these tighten this guy.
This works for me.
And then this guy will move this thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in part of my take.
That's why I bought 4 in the first place, so we could have like round table bullshit discussions.
Yeah.
Like
Have
that.
you had a round table yet?
No, not yet. We've used all 4 when it's been like when we've played Catan and shit, or like one time Davis's buddies like Gio and I forget who else is here. But like they came over like late night and we just fucked around with it one time.
Have you listened back to everything you've recorded?
For the most part.
Yeah.
It's like that one on Saturday went for 4 hours.
My God.
And I haven't even started like editing it and all that shit. And yeah, I have to listen back to it.
Well, you have to listen to it to put it back up.
Yeah. And there's like edits and cuts and all this shit that I have to do. So, but yeah, man. Hey, thanks again for coming in.
Cheers.
Cheers. Appreciate this. Appreciate your time.
Busy. But busy's good.
Busy's good.
Busy's good. I'm much more productive when I am busy. Because when I have nothing to do,
You just waste time.
I waste time. I'll sleep in. I'll just delay everything. And then, like today, I had a super busy day. Emailing people, seeing patients, my friends calling me. And then I got everything done because I had this, like, drive to get everything done.
Right, because you had shit going on.
Right, and I knew I was coming here. So I got home, ate dinner, got everything ready, did all my chores, knowing that I was going to be here tonight. Had I had nothing to do, I would be sitting on my couch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what I would be doing. Like watching Seinfeld. I should be studying or something.
Putting the stuff off that you had to do.
Correct. But now that I had this, it's all done. It's beautiful.
Hey, if you have a hard stop, let me know. I've got nothing. So as long as you can stay here, I'm happy to keep you.
I have nothing.
Dope. Yeah, man. I want to bring you on for a number of reasons. Obviously, Dave's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And you guys are best friends. And what I've learned from you, what I've learned about you. So you're trying to be a doctor.
I am a doctor.
You are a doctor. You have your white coat.
I have my white coat.
So what's the differentiation between medical school and residency and being a doctor?
Medical school.
Once you graduate medical school,
you are a doctor. Correct.
Okay.
And then all the students in medical school are student doctors. They're like candidates. You're a doctoral candidate.
Right.
Then when you graduate school, you're in residency in a specific field. So
okay. And you are in
ophthalmology residency at St. Louis University.
And so I said optometry earlier.
Correct.
And you're in ophthalmology.
Ophthalmology.
Okay, keep going.
So in residency, you are a doctor, but you're training. So you're
into the specialty.
Correct. So in medical school, your curriculum, depending upon which school you go to, everybody has the same curriculum of the general basic sciences. And you learn about anatomy and physiology, everything. And then at a certain point, you make a decision about, I want to be a pediatrician, cardiologist, ophthalmologist.
Right.
You choose, you pick. Yeah. And then you, from that specialty, whichever one you pick, you match into that specialty, and it's this insane process, unlike any other job search you could ever imagine.
Process?
So there are residency positions throughout the country and throughout the world.
Okay.
But in America, in the States, they are the most sought after residency positions in the world because there are people that graduate from medical school all over the world, and there are residencies in other countries, obviously.
Right.
But if you want, like the best are in the U.S.
Okay.
The federal government pays for our salary and dictates the number of positions that there are. Because every year...
That's news to me.
Every year, there are more medical students that graduate from medical school than there are number of residency positions. So there are people every year that don't match. Don't match. Basically, they go through all medical school and then they don't even have a job after. God only knows how much money they spent, how hard they worked.
Who knows?
In a perfect world, there are just an unlimited number of residency positions for however many students there are graduating. Okay. But that's not the way that it works. Right. So you have to pick a specialty as a medical student, and then you have to interview and go through. You have to interview for jobs,
Right.
You send your application to universities throughout all over the country. If they like you back, they'll interview you. And it's like rushing a sorority or a fraternity.
Right.
I had a list of interviews from when I was in medical school, and I had 8 of them. So I ranked them 1 through 8, and then I put it into a computer, and the residency programs themselves interview people. Let's just say that there was 50 students they interviewed. They rank them.
Okay.
Everyone does that for all specialties.
Like quite literally like sororities and...
Quite literally. And then it gets spit out by a computer. It goes into an algorithm. And then I was just lucky enough that my number 1 choice was SLU, and they liked me too. So the computer gave me SLU.
Jeez. That's wild. And now you're
And now
second year of residency.
Second year of residency, so I have 4 total. So I will finish my residency training in 2024. And that means I can be, assuming I pass my board exams, I can practice on my own. So right now, even though I'm a doctor, I am always supervised by another doctor that's finished all of their training because there is so much more that I don't know than what I do know.
As always.
But it's even so that's the crazy marathon of, it's not like a normal job.
No, it's not.
And then let's say I wanted to leave. I can't just leave my residency. I could leave, but I don't have, there's not like an open market of other residency spots available.
Then you'd have to like reapply.
You would have to redo that entire insane cycle. So I don't know why it is the way that it is.
Just how it is.
It just how it is. It's not like you have a job, you work for a company, and you got a better offer at a different company.
Right.
Or if you have a position, I think the way that it should work is if you are a residency and you have 10 spots to fill and you have students that want to be in those positions, why wouldn't you be able to just sign them to a contract just like any other job?
Right.
And I don't know the solution to the problem because there are very smart people that don't match every year. At the same time, it feels like there's a better way to do it. I'm very lucky that I ended up where I am. It's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, and we could spend 4 hours just talking about that. We could.
What do you think though? Like, do you have any ideas? Have you heard of any other ideas of what a better way that it could be?
I just think there should be.
So when you say
there's
residency,
a disconnect.
you have a residency at St. Louis University Hospital.
Correct.
And they have a residency program.
They have They have many residency programs.
Okay.
They have residency programs for each specialty within medicine.
Right.
So they have a pediatrics residency. They have a internal medicine residency, OBGYN residency, psychiatry. All of the fields of medicine have their own departments. Okay. And those departments have their own residency programs. It's all of these little villages within a bigger hospital that's an umbrella. And so that's the same for WashU. Yeah. WashU is much bigger. Their hospital's bigger, like Barnes is bigger.
Yeah,
so they have a lot more residents that are there just because it's a bigger hospital. And their departments are bigger.
Makes sense.
But
it's like a company.
Exactly.
All hospitals it's just a big ass company.
It's a bigger company. WashU's bigger than SLU.
Right.
I think one of the biggest problems is there are medical schools that keep opening, like new medical schools that are opening and having students come from college, and yet there's no balance between the number of students graduating and the number of spots available. Like there shouldn't be. I don't know if there shouldn't be more medical schools opening because we need more doctors, but it just doesn't. There's a disconnect between.
I'm following.
There's a disconnect. We need more doctors.
Supply and demand. There's not an equilibrium yet.
And they're very talented doctors that graduate from schools all over the world that want to practice in the U.S. and can't because the way that our licensing system is set up is. Even if you graduate from medical school, finish your residency training, let's say in, a random country, Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
You can't then practice in the States without going through residency like what I've done.
Our program.
So one of my best friends.
Wow, really?
One of my best friends, his dad was a plastic surgeon in India.
Okay.
Practiced there. Like did all of the things that I've done, medical school, residency, training.
Did the whole deal.
Was his own boss. Then did that in England. then did that in Canada. He was practicing in all these places. My friend was born in Toronto. And then he moved to the U.S., and because he didn't do his plastic surgery residency in the U.S., couldn't be a plastic surgeon, had to do residency all over again, and he made all of those sacrifices for his family.
Oh, my Lord.
Despite the fact that there's an insane number, there is a huge physician shortage throughout the country, but because there are limitations placed on international medical graduates, they can't do anything without going through the training that I'm doing.
Has that international limitation always been there, as far as you know?
I don't know. I'm sure that it's. I have no clue.
Huh.
I feel like it's probably more strict now than it used to be.
That's what I'm imagining too.
But I have no grounds for that. But I think it's hard. I think it's easy for them to say, you have to do this thing. You have to do this training in our country and pass these tests to do this. And yet I know that there are so many people. One of my teachers at SLU had to go through residency all over again. And she's one of the brightest, best doctors I've ever worked with. From? She's from Iran. And so she did her medical school residency fellowship, which is even more training. Then came back to the States, residency fellowship again. Oh my and now is here. So if I ever complain about residency, I just have to think about the people that have done it again when I'm up late in the middle of the night.
Hey, pick your own problems, though.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone's got their battle. That's fucking crazy.
They're super smart people that can't help.
I've heard shit about people like being in a doctor in a country and coming here and just being a doctor. I never realized it was to that extent.
Right. It's crazy.
So rewind. Before med school, where'd you go for undergrad?
Tulane.
Down in Louisiana.
In New Orleans, yeah.
And then why did you go there knowing you're getting into med school?
No, I didn't. I went, so in high school,
One of your grandfathers was a doctor, right?
Correct. My maternal grandfather was a dermatologist.
Okay.
And he was always my role model when I was growing up, but I never knew that I wanted to go into medicine. I thought it was always his thing.
Right.
And I didn't want to, not that I didn't want to be like him, I just thought that he was a doctor, and that was just him. That was him. And I loved, in high school, I still to this day love sports, but in high school I really love sports. I went to CBC, which is a great athletic school.
Right.
And so it kind of even facilitated and fostered that interest for sports.
Yeah.
And then I thought I wanted to work for ESPN. I wanted to be like the Steve Levy. I wanted to be the Sports Center anchor.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I thought I wanted to go to Northwestern because I knew a bunch of the ESPN anchors went to Northwestern.
It's a great school.
For journalism school.
Great school.
The Medill School of Journalism is one of the best schools in the country.
Yeah.
And I applied to Medill and didn't get in. And I was like, fuck.
Now what?
And then
rewrite the whole story now.
Rewrite the whole story. Fuck. But then I loved North Carolina basketball growing up.
Okay.
They won the national championship here in St. Louis.
Oh, that's sweet. I didn't know
in
that.
2005. They beat Illinois in the national championship game, and I was 12, and I watched them, and I was like, I didn't really think that SLU counted, so I was a North Carolina fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though SLU has been okay. And then, so I loved them. I wanted to go to North Carolina, basically because I love their basketball team. I think I tried to make up other reasons when I was in high school, and then I went to Chapel Hill and visited with my dad.
Yeah.
Didn't get in. 0-2. You see it catching a theme here.
Yeah.
So
trial and error, baby.
Trial and error. Then my dad went to Vanderbilt, and I went to Nashville to visit with him. And if you have ever been there, it is just an unbelievably beautiful campus.
I've heard.
It's an extraordinary school. I thought, I want to go to Vanderbilt. My dad went there. Nashville's not too far away from St. Louis. Perfect. Didn't get in. Okay. And I thought, over 3. And then I also applied to University of Virginia because a family friend was there. And I didn't ever go to Charlottesville, but I thought that it would be, UVA was similar to North Carolina.
Yeah.
A great state school with great sports. This is a perfect fit for me.
Fantastic school.
Didn't get in.
Jesus.
Was
this all like
goose egg?
I applied here, didn't get in, applied here.
No, this was all at the same time.
Okay.
So I then, even before all of that bad stuff happened, not bad stuff, all before the rejections flew in, I got an email from Tulane in December of senior year, and they said you should apply to Tulane, and I hadn't even thought about it.
Right.
But
Had
I
you
applied.
ever been to New Orleans prior?
Yes. So when Davis and I were growing up, our grandparents had a house in Mississippi, a beach house across the lake from New Orleans, in a little city called Pass Christian, Mississippi. Okay. So when we were growing up, before Katrina happened, we went to Mississippi all the time. Instead of going to Florida or Mississippi, we went to Colorado to visit our grandparents in the winter, and then in the summer we went to Mississippi. So I had spent time in New Orleans, but as a kid, I was 8. I don't really remember.
You hadn't been to New Orleans.
I was there.
Yeah.
And I remember being there, but there are no fond memories of New Orleans. So then
you got this email.
Got the email. They said apply for free. You know how expensive it is. Apply for colleges. Long story short, I applied and got accepted to Tulane before I even heard from these other schools. And I didn't even think about it because I was so in.
You're locked in on the other 4.
My narcissism was super high. I was like, I'm going to get into one of the 4. I didn't think I was going to get into all of them. I'm going to get into one, then I'm going to go. I was like, it was my big 4.
Right.
0. North Carolina, which was my dream school, because of basketball, emailed me. They didn't even send me a letter.
Hey, kid, sorry.
And I remember I was in the basement and I read the email and I just slammed my laptop and I was like, I can't this. The school of my dreams just broke my heart. Mm-hmm. Tough.
Were you a good student in high school?
I was a good student, but I had an inflated version of myself because I thought that I was smarter than I really was.
Sure, as we all do. Yeah.
And so that's why I thought that I was, who wouldn't want me to be at their school? So then it actually turned out to be one of the greatest things because I wanted to go to those schools because of the name and not because of.
I went to UNC. I went to Virginia.
I didn't really.
I went to North.
I went to Vanderbilt because it has a great, it has this prestigious name.
Right.
And I wanted to go for North Carolina because of basketball. Virginia, I wanted to be like my family friend, and Northwestern was just like a Northwest prestige. It was totally what I thought was important. Mm-hmm. Didn't get in, and I was super upset about it. And my dad gets a lot of credit because he said, Charlie, you have all these. I'd gotten into Mizzou and I'd gotten into Tulane and I'd gotten into other schools. And he said, let's just go visit because you still have time to figure out what you want to do.
Right.
We went to New Orleans in May of my senior year. And I just fell in love with Tulane. And I met other students. It was Accepted Students Day. Mm-hmm. I met other students there that had gotten into North Carolina and other schools that I had applied to, like UVA, and they were all going to Tulane, and they said, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come here.
Really? That's crazy.
And it was a beautiful day. It was New Orleans. I'd never been. Now I was an adult. I was 18. I kind of knew what was going on. My dad had spent a lot of time in New Orleans growing up.
It's hilarious how it comes full circle.
And then I didn't know anybody going there, but I knew that when I was there, something was different, and it was it was a good fit for me.
Yeah.
So I left that trip knowing I was going to Tulane.
That's sick.
But I didn't know that I was going into medicine. I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Did you go with the intention of sports broadcasting or
no, not at all.
Journalism?
It was after I had my initial plans changed. I didn't even think. I was like, that's not the right path for me.
Okay.
Even though I could have very
So when you were applying to these other schools, did you have med school in thought or pre-med in thought?
No.
It was
not at all. It was
ESPN reporter or whatever.
It was like, I want to be a sports center anchor. Sports is my passion, and I wanted that to be my job.
Yeah.
And then when I got rejected from those schools, then I was like, this is not maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should have more of an open mind.
So you went to Tulane.
So I went to Tulane, and then it came full circle for me because my grandfather, Papa, who's my mom's dad, was very sick all of my freshman year of college. So I came home for Thanksgiving, I came home for Christmas, and he was in and out of the ICU, very, very, very sick. And he was getting better, but I knew that it was kind of towards the end, and that was really difficult just dealing with that because I had never dealt at that time with someone that I had loved.
Right.
All 4 of my grandparents were alive. Mm-hmm. No one. I had an amazing childhood. I had never dealt with lots of tragedy and death at all. And so my grandfather, who was Papa, who was a doctor, who was this amazing role model, who was the patriarch of our family, was now a shell of himself. He was wearing oxygen, and it was just something I didn't recognize. And then I began that was the beginning of me thinking I wanted to be like him. And he and then it kind of that idea.
Seeing your role model in that stage just kind of hit you.
Right. And then he passed away in July, the summer after my freshman year.
Okay.
And during that time, I was actually working for my dad, one of my dad's friends, like boyhood friends in Detroit, Michigan. And I was there for my grandfather's passing, but then I like had to leave immediately afterwards to go work on this project that I was on. Damn. And I just hated leaving. I hated leaving my family in the worst moment of my life at that time.
Right.
Was my grandfather, my role model, the person that is the patriarch, the person who I look up to, who is just the most like Renaissance man, unbelievable, my favorite person in the whole world. And then he's gone. And then I had to leave for this job. I'm 18, now I'm 19 years old. So what am I doing? I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
What was the project?
It was a political consulting job.
Completely
and I was
different.
Couldn't be more different. And then I realized I had taken some science classes as a freshman, and then it really hit me that when I was at Papa's funeral and then at his reception and at his wake, there were these people, Jack. I've never seen these people in my entire life, but they were his patients that came.
Oh,
and
shit.
So I recognize family, friends. Obviously, my whole family's there. Yeah. And then there's this line. It never stopped. Like the line never stopped. And these people are thanking me. I was wearing my grandfather's like blazer, and they were thanking me like I had anything to do with their care. Like he was their dermatologist, and he. Story after story after story. That's so awesome. Of all these people,
goosebumps. That's crazy.
Of all these people that I had never met before, that I didn't know him in his work career.
He made that big of an impact on.
And I was like, I knew right, and he made that impact on me, and I knew that he made that impact on other people, and I was like, what? Like I want to have that kind of impact on other people's lives.
That's a great reason.
So then
great reason.
And then that was kind of and I didn't really know for sure if I wanted to do medical school, or I'd never really been exposed to it before. But then I knew at the end of this like long journey that it would be worth it. Like it would be the right choice for me because of what I saw, the success and what my grandfather provided for my parents or for my mom and our family. Yeah. And like he had this amazing career that he was extraordinarily successful. He was always there for my like aunts and uncles and my mom. And he was always there for me. And I was like, how does he has everything. He has an amazing career, but hasn't had any hasn't had to make as many sacrifices as I see other parents do in other careers. Right. He has a successful and a great father and grandfather and uncle and family man, but he also has this unbelievable job that is rewarding to him, and all these people care so much about him. So it was like he has it all, and I wanted to be like him, and then it kind of just snowballed into where I am now.
So how did medical school come about? When did you decide, and how did you decide, like, I'm doing pre-med? Like sophomore year, junior year?
No, I knew that I started taking the classes even before freshman year. Okay. It was like I didn't know what major that I wanted to do. Sure. So they were like, if I remember meeting with my advisor being like, if you are interested at all, you have to take these classes as a freshman. And I was like,
sure. Get it over with.
That idea was there, but then it kind of like after my grandfather's passing, it solidified everything for me.
That's a crazy story. That's an incredible story. That's a great reason to get into medical.
Right. And it's awesome. And it was so weird because I was growing up and my grandfather practiced medicine in St. Louis, just like 5 minutes from where we are right now. And so I thought it was so bizarre that not everyone's grandfather was a doctor. Right. And I was like, we're just going to Papa's office because that's where we went. And he had
but it was probably a really big deal.
Well, it was him and his secretary, Ruth. Right. And he wrote all of his, it's crazy to think about it now in 2021. He wrote his patient information on index cards with a pen. He had didn't have a computer. He had index cards and patient reminders were like on business cards. No cloud, nothing, no Excel sheets, no audio, like nothing. He was a private practice. He was him and his secretary. He didn't have nurses it was just like, and then we would always go as growing up, we would just get like Tootsie Pops and Blow Pops from this little cabinet that I can still see to this day. Right. And so it was like, that's
at the time, it was just like the greatest thing in the world.
That's how everyone's like family is like, of course, like I'm 6.
Right.
Everyone's grandfather's like a doctor, right? Isn't that normal? I think that was
normal.
Because that was what my my childhood was like.
That's-
when I was sick, my mom would take me out of school and I'd go see Papa.
That's hilarious because when I was a kid, whenever I would go see my grandparents, I thought everyone's grandparents were farmers.
Right.
I
I mean-
was just like as an 8-year-old, 7, 6, 7, 8-year-old, I was like, everyone's grandparents has a farm. Everyone has cows. And then like you find out, no, not everyone's
You grow
grandparents
up and you're like, not everybody's the same.
Yeah, not everyone's a good fucking doctor. That's wild.
So then and I don't have like an aha moment of like this is when it happened.
It just
But I
started
think
slowly.
it kind of just it was that idea was always there. And I think it just got uncovered as I grew up.
So when you graduated and you decided to go into SLU, when did ophthalmology come about and why ophthalmology?
So I never
Pause. I asked you optology.
optometry.
Optometry. What is the difference between the two?
Optometry is very similar, and if you become an optometrist, you go to 4 years of college, you go to 4 years of optometry school. They become doctors of optometry.
Okay.
And they are eye doctors, but they prescribe contact lenses and glasses.
Okay.
And they deal
like
more
a Clarkson Eye Care.
Exactly, and they do they do almost everything that we do as ophthalmologists. The only thing that they don't do is surgery.
Okay.
So that to become an ophthalmologist, you do 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, and then you can do eye surgery. Okay. That's the difference between ophthalmology and optometry.
And when you say eye surgery, like cataracts and shit like that?
Cataracts, retinal detachments,
Okay.
like LASIK surgery is done by ophthalmologists.
Okay.
I feel like the number one question people ask me when I say what I do, I say I'm an ophthalmology resident, they say, "Can I have free LASIK?" And I
100%.
I have to tell them, I'm like, I've never done LASIK, so I don't think you want me to do it on you yet. Maybe when I get the training and
I can
up.
fit on this table. We could.
Yeah, we could figure it out. We just don't have the laser. It'll be fine.
No, we'll get there.
So that's the big difference. But we work with optometry students. We work with optometrists, are my teachers. So it's very similar. And when you say eye doctor, it could be either or. They're very similar. Just optometrists don't do surgery. Most people don't need surgery.
So why did you pick that field?
So it's a
'cause,
very
like,
funny story. It's a good story. One of my mom's best friends is a nurse. And when I got into medical school,
Your mom's best friend is a nurse.
Yeah,
Okay, keep going.
when I got into medical school, my mom's friend was dating an ophthalmologist at the time. And he also happened to practice in Kansas City, which is where I was going to medical school.
Okay.
His name's Steve Silverstein. And I met him in St. Louis because my mom's friend lives here, and Dr. Silverstein was dating her then. And we met at Sportsman's and my mom and my mom's friend and Dr. Silverstein and I had a drink. I had never met him before in my life. He was extraordinarily charismatic, outgoing, and said, "Charlie, when you get to Kansas City, you should come and see my practice, see what I do." And
Check it out.
Check it out. I didn't even know what ophthalmology was. I didn't even know it was a thing. I knew that I was in medical school. I hadn't even started yet. And I then fast forward. So he was great. We exchanged information. When I moved, my mom helped me move to Kansas City. I let him know that I was there. I texted him. He called me and took my mom and I out to lunch the same day. The first, he left clinic, his own, and then took my mom and I out to lunch and then went back to his clinic that afternoon. And I was this guy that I had met one time.
Right.
Was this unbelievable? And I didn't know, having.
It's an impactful first meeting.
Right. And then having not gone to Mizzou, you and Dave said, I didn't have a core of friends that lived in Kansas City or people that I knew. I'd never really spent much time there. So when I moved to Kansas City and I had now this mentor that I had just out of thin air.
Right.
He appeared
literally one day.
Serendipitously.
One day you didn't know him. Next day he's taking you around Kansas City.
Right. And he wasn't like a tour guide, but he was like, "Hey Charlie, I'm here for you.
Right.
Medical school's gonna be tough, but I'm there. If you have time, you can come do research with me. You can see how my practice works, and
What a good guy.
Watch me in surgery." And I was like, "That sounds awesome. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I want to get exposed to as much as I can." And
no reason not to check it out.
Right. And then so I spent time with him. He was great. And then he's also a teacher at my medical school.
Okay.
So I got to spend time with him.
UMKC?
Kansas City University of Medicine. So it's KCU.
Okay.
It's all alphabet soup.
Sure. He was your teacher?
He was my teacher. And then I went through all of the rotations that you'd go through in medical school, like the psychiatry, all the other fields of medicine. And I wasn't really interested in any of them until I got to spend time with Dr. Silverstein at his clinic, got to see him interacting with patients. He gets to do the most amazing surgeries you've ever seen. And he loves his patients. His patients have an amazing relationship with him. There are times when he would be seeing patients like grandparents with their grandchildren, and he's taking care of all of 3 generations.
That's insane.
And
That's so cool.
He had an amazing life of like these surgeries. There are patients that come in that are blind, that have cataracts. He has surgery, and the next day they are seeing like almost 20/20 the next day.
That's crazy.
And he gets to see this, like the eye is so cool and fascinating to me. We could go on about that. But then I was like, this is what I want to do. All the other things in medicine I have an appreciation for, but I knew that when I sat down and was spending time with him, the people that he worked with and worked for him and him himself, he was actively like recruiting people to go into the field. And there are some fields in medicine that people are just miserable.
Right.
Some fields are really happy and they love what they do. And you can find happy people in any field, in any job, in business, law, medicine, whatever you do, real estate. Like you'll find happy people. I felt like the happiest people were in ophthalmology. And then when I left Dr. Silverstein's office, like that time with him, and I went to other places and spent time with other ophthalmologists, it was like this contagious feel that everyone was super smart and super happy and loved their job. And they're all a few generations above us.
Right.
And I didn't want to spend my life in the hospital. I didn't want to be an OBGYN and deliver babies at 3 a.m. And kudos to the people that do, because that's just...
Not to downplay it. Just
no, it's not downplaying at all. It's like one of the things that I ran into in medicine was you have to pick what you want to do.
Literally.
At the end of the day, you have to pick.
Yeah.
And there are people that were like, oh, I could never see myself doing that. Insert the specialty here.
Yeah.
And you have to find the thing that you want to do, because I'm not doing your job and you're not doing my job. I've got to find the thing that I love and I care about. And that's what I chose. And it just was lucky that my mom's friend was dating a guy that happens to be a teacher at my school, which is insane.
Yeah. Luck of the draw, literally.
Truly. And
that's wild.
Right. And I had never been exposed to it before. I had never seen an eye doctor. I had never worn glasses before. And now it's something that I deal with all day. And now I wear glasses, which is kind of embarrassing. But
it's wild how many different specialties there are. And like how you said that, like you noticed that everyone, it seemed that everyone in that field was super happy. Because I've heard that dentists have like the highest rate of suicide.
That's a totally different world.
Yeah,
too. Like we don't even go to school together. It's a completely different.
Dental school.
Dental school.
But that's awesome. That's I'm glad that you're enjoying it and that you found something.
I mean, it's definitely. Residency is really hard, but it's also it's not a normal job. Like I know that it's not normal.
So you were saying that like what you had today? What does residency entail? What is
we can do today?
Yeah, sure. So as an example today.
As an example, so it's 7 a.m. We had a lecture where we kind of went over. We're always learning because we have this set of books that we have a test on once a year, and it's just ophthalmology. There's a set of 13 different books that we have to go over.
Once a year?
Once a year. So we're studying, preparing for that. So we had questions this morning, and then at 8 o'clock, we had grand rounds presentations, which is where other residents present cases as learning tools for the other residents.
Okay.
So 2 of the residents presented cases about interesting patients that they saw so that when we see them in clinic, we can try to help them too. And that was it. And then clinic was from 8:45 until like 5:30. So I'm seeing patients in coordination with my boss, who is also a doctor. And I go in and see the patient. And a lot of you probably haven't ever been to a teaching hospital, which is what SLU is.
I can't say I have.
As a patient, you see a resident first. I go in and evaluate you, ask you questions, do my exam. Right. Then I go back out of the room, talk to my boss, and then my boss will come in. So it's definitely not time effective at all. It's not efficient, but the whole purpose is to teach us. Right. You don't go there to go in and out like a private practice, which is what most of us probably grew up with. You go in, you see the doctor, you leave.
Right.
at a teaching hospital, the priority is the residents and teaching us how to be doctors. So it's definitely like you have to. People wait a little bit longer to see us because they have to get examined twice.
Yeah, but that's one thing I can wait for. Is if I'm seeing a doctor, I'll probably take the time on that one.
You'd hope. Oh, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to. A lot of people don't want to be at teaching hospitals, and then if they come and they feel like it's taking them too long to get examined, then they just say, we might not be the right fit for you. Because there are ophthalmologists everywhere that would be happy to have your business, but we're a teaching hospital. It's when you go to SLU or WashU or wherever you go, you're going to see a resident.
So today, Wednesday the 8th, is how different is today than just in general every other day? Is that what most days look like in residency for you?
Yeah, the only time that it changes is when I'm on call.
Okay.
So call is pretty insane schedule where we cover patients that are going into that are in the hospital. So what does that mean? So like tomorrow night, starting at tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m., from 4 p.m. until 7 a.m. Friday morning, I will have a pager like Grey's Anatomy. I will actually have a pager that I'll have on me.
Right.
And if
it's funny,
if patients,
it's funny how you put it that way.
I mean, people, yeah.
No, it's really, yeah, literally.
I mean, I don't know anyone else that has a pager. I can't believe that I have a pager. If a patient,
get with the times.
If someone goes, let's say you got into a fight,
right?
Okay, someone punched you in the face, and you were like, my eye, I'm in so much pain. You go to SLU Hospital. The ER doctors are going to see you, and if they like, oh my gosh, there's this 24-year-old white guy here. He got punched in the face, and he's having blurry vision. Yeah, they're going to page me. And I will see the number, and I'll call them and say, hey, this is Charlie with ophthalmology.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? And they'll say, we have this guy we want you to come see. So I might be in clinic still seeing patients, or I might be at home, because that call could come at 2 a.m.
Right, you're literally on call.
And then I'll come in and evaluate you and see what I can do to help you out. And that can be crazy. That can be like car accidents coming in and people have very messed up eyes. It could be a kid that got a Nerf. Seen a kid get a Nerf gun to his eye, like a dart.
No way.
I've saw a kid on Friday night last weekend who had it was at baseball practice with his friends, and there was an errant throw, and it just like clocked him in the eye.
Oh, Jesus.
And that was like midnight on Friday night. So there's just always stuff, like people do dumb stuff.
Right. You never know what's going to happen.
And then I'll work all night. Hopefully I'll get sleep. And then I'll work the next day.
Damn.
So that's why call is crazy, because you can be up, you can work all day, work all night, and then work the next day. That's why it's not really great for residents, because you shouldn't be working no matter what you're doing. But especially if you're helping people, not ideal to be working like up all night and then seeing people the next day.
If you got to operate, you're not going to operate on anybody, but like literally.
But you might.
Yeah, right.
But you might be.
So I have a pivot, but relating into all of that, so I've got a few friends in med school right now, and I don't think anyone that listens to this is in med school, but maybe. What's something that you have learned or realized or wish you were told, whether it's medical school or residency, that would have helped you, made it easier, maybe helped you find your path more quickly, whatever?
I have a general advice, not even for medical school or for...
Yeah, sure.
I think it applies. I think I learned it because of my journey.
Sure.
But
that counts.
But it will be helpful for anybody. It's I think one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is be an advocate for yourself.
Okay.
What does that mean? So there are times when people you have to like create your own path and your own journey. And there are times when you can't do those things by yourself. And at the same time, at the same time, you have to be able to reach out to people and ask for help, and you've got to kind of make it happen. And the analogy that I'll give is, in that crazy residency matching process, it's extraordinarily competitive.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this is true for maybe any any job that is sought after, reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'm Charlie, I'm Jack, I'm whomever, I'm interested in this. How can I help? How can I get, I have this goal that I want to achieve, whether that's finishing a project, getting a promotion, getting a new job, whatever that may be. You have a task that you want to accomplish. You have to advocate for yourself and be like, hi, I'm here.
You have to put yourself out there.
You have to put yourself out there and be be open
Right.
and be available and
Right.
be receptive to feedback and say, if you reach out to someone and say, Jack, I have this project that I'm working on, whatever that may be, can you help me? Because I need help. This is what I'm doing. And then be receptive to that feedback and say, okay, I reached out to this person that I trust and care about, Jack, who is going to help me finish this thing or achieve my goal, whatever that may be.
Right.
And he responded with this. This is what I need to do. And not be afraid. I feel like people think that opportunities will come to them naturally.
You have to ask for it.
You have to get out and go do it.
Right.
You have to get out and go do.
I like that.
Oftentimes people think that they're being like a nuisance or if you're reaching out to someone, like you reach out, a perfect example is tonight. You reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to have you on. And I responded. And if you had never said anything, I would have never come on.
And in my head, I was just like, if you got time, like if you're willing to, and you're
right?
like, yeah, hell yeah, let's
go.
do it. Right.
Right. And there's so many instances where people have like a phone call or an email changes their life.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I never thought that there were emails of people that I've worked with or people that I've met that just like you have these like spur of the moment things you never think are gonna. You never know what it's gonna happen, but putting yourself out there is actually really beneficial.
I like that.
So being I
like that.
Like, and you can be your own advocate and not be a narcissist and not be an egomaniac and say I'm the best. You just like, no, I want to do this thing and here's what I can bring to the table and be humble. You can be humble and be an advocate for yourself. You don't need to be I'm the best, I'm the smartest, I'm the only solution, but you have to be able to let people know what skills you have,
right?
To then let them help you achieve whatever you want to be, whatever you want to achieve.
In like a general sense, just putting yourself out there, whether it's a job or whatever, looking for a promotion, like just putting yourself out there. It's like, what needs to be done and how can I help? Like, it doesn't even matter what it is. Like, is there a way that I can help and how can I go about it? And if they're like, you don't know how to, like, cause like me, like I could walk up to like Davis and like what he's doing. He's like, yeah, I need this back end code written in 24 hours. I'm like, okay, well, fuck me. I can't help you. Sorry there.
But maybe I can make a phone call. Maybe
right,
I can try.
Exactly.
Like,
right.
You're going to try to help in some other way.
Is there something that I can do? He's like, maybe I find me a coder in 24 hours. Like, yeah, well, actually, I know a guy.
Right. My cousin's girlfriend, Stephanie, is a coder.
Right.
And then you never like,
who knows
that. And then I think like, besides being your own advocate, I think one of the things that I struggle with is being present. And I think that would be advice in the moment, like it's easy. And I think advice I would give to my younger self would try to be more present because, and here's why. I think I spend a lot of time being nostalgic and looking back on memories of good memories. Like, remember when we went to this trip and had this amazing time, and remember when in college we had this sick party,
right?
We went on this trip together, we played golf together, we did all, and like looking back, and those are important memories to have. And also I spend time looking forward to things like this weekend, I'm finally going to be happy when I'm off of work or I'm looking for Christmas when I finish residency, then I'm going to be happy. Right? When I do this thing, like there's always this thing to look forward to.
Grass is always greener.
Exactly. Seriously. And like it will be better or it has been better instead of just recognize. It's hard to do because we're so busy, but recognizing how awesome it is and how right now.
I've always see shit about that on social media. It's like, don't take for whatever you're doing right now for granted, because younger you was hoping for what you're in right now.
Correct.
And like that always hits me so hard. It's like, yeah, because when I was in college, I was like, dude, I can't fucking wait to get out of college. Like once I'm making money, I got my own place, I'm gonna be fucking fine. And like now
you have your own place and you're out of college and you're like, and it's good. And I'm not saying I'm not saying don't look back on your memories and be happy.
Appreciate where you came from.
And I'm not saying don't look forward to things, because I think those are both equally beneficial. But don't get stuck and get lost in the past and in the future and not enjoy what's happening at the same time.
I think most people are like 45 looking back, 45 looking forward, and then 10% now.
Right.
Where it's like in reality, you should probably be doing 33, 33, 33 across the board.
Right.
Because if you don't appreciate now, then you're never going to be satisfied with whatever.
Right.
It's always going to be like, oh, it's going to be better then. It's always going to be better then. It was so much better back then.
Right. Well, then you're just a grandpa.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Exactly. Like back in my day, there was my godfather gave me when I was little. There's a little short story, It's called The Station by Robert Hastings.
Yeah.
And it's in my bathroom right now. And I don't read it every day, but I should. And basically the
right there, the first
thesis,
line.
yeah, the first line. So basically the idea of the station is our life, it's an analogy. Our life is a journey.
Right.
And we think of our journey as there's going to be a destination through which we get there. So in our lives, this destination, at some point we're going to pull into a train station, and everybody that we love is going to be there. It's going to be a big party. It's going to be like the Cleveland Cavaliers World Championship parade.
Right.
Like it's going to be the ultimate climax of our life, and that's going to be the best part. But in reality, that there is no destination in our life. It's the journey of getting from where we are to the end of our life. And it's like, enjoy the moment that you're in, because when you pay off your car, when you pay off your house, when you get promoted, there's always going to be more things to look forward to, and embracing where you are and where you've been and where you're going to go is the most important thing to do, instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to do this thing later.
Right.
It's like, be in the moment now and go on a hike, go eat more ice cream, kiss the person that you love, be with the people that you love. Like, just live is essentially what it is.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna have to read that after this because a short story. I'm sure it's just like a cool.
Well, it's like a minute.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
And it's like, I can sit here on my soapbox and say that I like am always present. It's just not true.
No,
right?
No,
like,
none of us are.
No. And it's something that I like try to actively work towards, because it's easy. It's so much easier when you're like, okay, gotta go to bed, gotta go to work tomorrow, just running through the motions.
That's one thing that I actually try and like instill in my own mind, like really drill it down. And like whenever my friends are like, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, like
gotta go to the gym.
Like I literally just in my mind switching it to I get to go. It's like that little kind of a thing. It's like, damn, okay, we're here, we're good. Do this.
There are people that would kill to have either of our lives. People.
I got to go on a walk. No, you get to go on a walk.
Right.
That kind of a thing.
Which
has helped me a shitload.
Yeah, it is. And it's all relative, right? Because if we look at people that are more successful, in quotes, whatever that means, or wealthier, or things that are
relative to you,
you're going to be unhappy.
Right.
And then there are people that would do anything to have either of our lives that we have.
Right. I totally agree.
Right?
Totally agree.
So, what advice would you give your younger self? Now I'm gonna interview you.
Dude, honestly, probably the same. Like, I've literally I date back to like I even call it like freshman, sophomore year of high school, dude. Like, I was always looking forward to the next thing. I was never like, I don't want to use the word content, but I was always like, I can't, like high school, I was like, can't fucking wait for college. Can't fucking wait for college. Like, as soon as I'm out,
which is a good thing to be
right.
Thinking, right? It's good. It is good to be looking forward to things and working towards goals.
Right. And I just like, obviously hindsight's always 20/20, but like, it's just like kind of the same thing. Like, enjoy whatever you're doing now, because you never know what's going to happen next. And like how we were talking about before this, like grass is always greener. Like, you really don't know. So whatever's going on, like, enjoy what this little shit you got is. Yeah.
And I think, like, coming full circle, it's like life's too short to be miserable.
Absolutely.
Life's too short to be miserable.
Absolutely.
And I really don't have sympathy for people that are miserable in situations that they have made for themselves. Like, if something horrible has happened to them, I'm the first person to be there to say, this sucks and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then there are the people that are equally as upset about something that they did to themselves. Like, they slept in and missed work, and it's like, you just didn't set an alarm. I mean, that's a petty example. But there are horrible things where people just have these like unbelievably unlucky situations. And you're like, that's when you should be upset about something.
Right.
Not when you just didn't think. Then I don't have any sympathy for you, because you the hole that you dug yourself, you dug it for yourself. It wasn't thrown upon you or thrust upon you for no reason.
I have no sympathy for idiocy. If people make dumb decisions, it's like, okay, learn from it. But if you actually did something really dumb, I don't feel bad for you. I've made my share of dumb decisions in life, and I don't expect anyone to feel bad for me, because now I look back on them, they're hilarious.
Right, and we learn from them.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that I was talking about last night with Jack is that, like, with this podcast, and like I was telling him about 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I went skydiving.
Okay.
And that was like a really pivotal moment in my life, because it was just like, whatever you think is scary, whatever seems scary, it's usually not. And whatever you're thinking about doing, just fucking do it. Like, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen the next day. If it's a tough conversation, if you really want to try a new chicken place, but no one's going to go with you, dude, just fucking go. Like, just don't wait on people.
Well, and chicken places and skydiving are a little different.
Yeah, but
you can eat chicken pretty regularly.
Yeah. But like, it's maybe it's just like going and like, you don't want to eat alone. Just like, don't fucking wait on people and just like go.
Buy a scooter.
Yeah.
Buy a scooter.
Yeah, buy a goddamn scooter. Start a podcast. I don't know.
No, I think that I've learned, like one of the things that I've learned I've never been skydiving before. I think I'd be scared. I think it would be fun, but I would be scared. Horrifying. It's an illustrative example of if you've never done something before, it's going to be scary.
Yes, exactly.
I don't care if you've never made tiramisu before. It's like super bad. If you've never made tiramisu, you're going to be scared doing it because you're like, am I going to mess it up? I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe, and that's a little different than skydiving. But I remember in medical school, something that I had never done before was take someone's blood pressure. And I remember in front of all my classmates, I was so nervous and so scared.
Don't fuck this up.
And I was like, my heart was beating 1,000 beats a second. I don't know what I'm doing. All of these other people know what they're doing. I've never done it before. I look like an idiot. And looking back, now I can do it. It means nothing. Like I've done it 1,000 times. I could do it asleep. But because I had never done it before, and I have no knowledge, you have no experience to draw from.
Right.
It's terrifying.
But it's like the same thing that we were just saying. That it's all relative, and like you might be cooking dinner for someone for the first time, and you're scared shitless because you don't cook, and it's like your first time cooking for someone. But that level of scaredness for that person is the same level of scaredness for someone skydiving. Because when I went skydiving, after I went skydiving, I was like, because when you do it, it's nothing. And people are like, I could never fucking do that. It's like, well, do it and you'll realize that it's nothing.
Yeah.
But like in their mind, like they're like, that's the most horrifying thing, jumping 5 miles out of a plane. It's like, well, yeah.
You could die.
But like you're strapped to a guy, there's 6 parachutes, whatever. And like after you do it, you realize like, oh my God, that was nothing. Like I'm here, I'm on the ground, I did that. So
how long were you in the air? How long are you in the air? I know I'm not saying in the plane. I'm saying from when you jump out of to land is like 5 minutes. Is it that long?
It's something like that. No, so you free fall. Let's see. We went it to like 20,000 feet, 25,000 feet, something like that. 17,000 feet.
Did you go by yourself?
It was me and 3 buddies down in Fenton or Afton or something. I don't know. But
all the same.
Yeah, you hit like 125 miles an hour jumping out of this plane just straight towards the earth.
And you're wearing like the suit and
everything.
Like the goggles.
Yeah, there's a dude strapped to your back, all that. And you don't feel like you're falling. You don't feel like you're going fast. Like the scariest part was this dude kicked open the door and like he's like there's a block, like a step outside of the plane on the wheel that's like 4 inches by 6 inches. Like it's smaller than a shoe.
Okay.
And he's like,
what are you supposed to do?
He's like, you got to put your feet on that thing.
Before you jump?
Yeah. And like, cause you're supposed to sit on the edge of the plane with your feet on this thing. And
he's
in the plane
he jumps.
and he's pushing us out cause you're strapped to him. And like, I kicked my foot out of the plane. And just because you're going 100 miles an hour in this plane, and you just like the wind, just like, and you're just like, oh fuck.
Well, because you obviously just go that way.
But you forget that you're strapped to this guy. So you're like, and then he's like, I got you, don't worry. And it's like, motherfucker. And then so you step on this thing, and he's like, okay, 1, 2, 3. He jumps on 2. And you're just like, you think you're like, you had that sensation of falling, like falling down the stairs or whatever.
No,
you're just kind of there. And like, there's just wind, and like, you don't feel like you're dropping, you don't feel like you're flying, you're just kind of there. And you're going, I think you dropped 10,000 feet in like 20 seconds, something like that. You're going
something absurd.
You're going fast as fuck.
You are going quickly.
Yeah, and then the glide down, which I think is like another 10,000 feet, takes like 10 minutes, something like that.
You're in the air for a long time.
A while.
It feels like probably 10 seconds.
Right. I think the free fall might be 10 seconds. It might be like it's like 8 or 9.
You have no idea. You have no idea how long you're up there.
No, I have no clue. Let's see.
Skydiving time in the air. It's going to depend, obviously, on how high up you are.
A typical skydive is
okay, we were right. 5 to 6
50 seconds of that spit and free fall. I don't think mine was that long. Maybe. Yeah, that
so right. Most of it you are parachuting down, and you're just kind of like,
yeah.
Did you feel like you were a badass paratrooper, or are you just like,
Dude, it was so sick. It was so sick. Okay, so 10,000 feet free fall in about a minute. Yeah, that probably sounds right. Dude, it was so exhilarating.
How did that even get on your radar?
I've had a bucket list since I was like 10.
Okay.
Just ridiculous shit like that. And we graduated.
Which is not normal. I don't think bucket lists for 10-year-olds are normal, by the way. We can say that.
Yeah, whatever. You had to be 18 to do it. And my buddy Stumpf, Andrew Knight, and Dominic Dolan, we just like talking about it. It's like fucking around. I was like, yeah, we'll go skydiving. And then one day Stumpf texted me. He's like, we should do that. And I was like, okay, I'll look into it. And I Googled it and I called them. And this was like Monday. And they're like, yeah, we can get you in Wednesday at like 2:00. And I was like, can you do
In school?
No, this was like 2 weeks after we graduated.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, can you get 4 of us? They're like, yeah, see you then. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like a sketchy ass airport. The pilot was 18.
What?
He was wearing
the pilot was your age?
Yeah, he was wearing flip flops, eating Jack in the Box tacos, driving us up. The first kid that went up, I think Andrew, is either
driving you up. What do you mean? Like in the plane?
like flying the plane. He was eating tacos. Yeah, and these planes were like little.
I haven't had Jack in the Box in a long time.
No, thank you. He was driving like he was a single prop plane. He flew it up there. The first kid, I don't remember who was with. The first kid, they had to bail early because the engine died, and he had to coast this plane all the way back down. And then there's still 3 of us to go. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to look into it, maybe grab another plane, then we're good to go. And we were like, what the fuck? And these planes were like held together by duct tape. Like they were like little rink-a-dink planes.
So your first buddy jumps, and then he's like, the engine dies. We're just coasting down?
But they jumped out of the plane.
Who's they?
The kid and the guy that he was strapped to. And then
So there were 6 other people, the 3 of you plus the 3 dudes.
Oh, no. There was a pilot, and then only 2 people got in the plane. So we went in 4 total trips.
Oh, okay.
These were like, this plane could fit in this room.
So you went up with the pilot plus the guy that was strapped to you.
And to go by yourself, you have to have like 100 jumps under your belt before
to be the guy, to be the backpack.
To even go by yourself. And then to be the backpack guy, you have to have like 5,000 hours of jumps. And all of these guys had been doing it for like years and years and years. And like on their weekends, instead of going and watching football, they were base jumping off of cliffs. Like these guys were batshit crazy.
Yeah. They are just adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
They are not normal people.
No. And yeah, signed my life away like 200 times. $200 plus $50 for GoPro.
I thought you said 200 times. I thought you were going to say that was the first time done 199 times.
Yeah. But it was cool. It was awesome. I highly suggest anyone go and skydive. It's so worth it. It's really worth it.
So you're 10. You make a bucket list.
Yeah.
You have skydiving. What else have you knocked off your list? Do you still have the original list, or has it just been modified over the years? Because I feel like I don't have anything from when I was 10.
You know, I bet I do. I bet that list is around here somewhere.
You should.
Because it was on I had a bulletin board in my room at my mom's until I moved out to here. And that was on that bulletin board until I just moved out here. So I bet that list is somewhere. I hope I didn't.
The bulletin board should be in this room.
It should. What else was on it?
That you've crossed out or is on it?
Oh, man, I don't know what's been on it that I've crossed out. But I know like another one.
Because I feel like that had to have been the first thing you crossed out.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you were 10. There could be like kiss a girl. I don't know.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember.
Right, you're 10. But like maybe not. Maybe it's like girls are gross or have cooties.
I don't know how when I made it. But like it was very clear that I did not write this when I was like 15. Like the handwriting was dog shit. Like one of them was like
I mean, give yourself some credit. You were 10.
One of them was like ride a bull. One of them was like be in a street race. One of them was scuba diving.
I must not leave an entertaining life. I haven't done any of those things. I rode a mechanical bull.
I've done that.
That doesn't count. I don't know.
I want to ride a real bull.
Real bull. I don't know where you're going to find one.
I know a guy. Don't worry.
His name's Ray Ray.
Yeah. What else was on it? There was like crazy shit like step on all 7 continents, visit all 50 states, make $1 million.
7 continents is crazier than 50 states. 50 states you can do.
I'm like halfway there probably.
You're probably more
probably
than halfway.
a third of the way there. Yeah.
If you count a step, you go to the 4 corners, get 4 of them knocked out at one time.
Right. So I don't know, just crazy shit like that. But speaking of traveling, the pivot that I had earlier is that Dave was telling me that you had a medical trip, a medical service trip to Nicaragua. What's all that about? So when was this and why?
It was 2015 summer. Another one of the examples of life, which is it's all about who you know, not what you know. Mm-hmm. One of my grandfather's friends in New Orleans is an OBGYN, and he was, I don't think he is anymore, a medical director for a mission trip out from a church, an Episcopal church in New Orleans, and they went every year to Nicaragua.
Medical director for a church in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. My grandfather's childhood friend.
Okay, keep going.
And so for my college graduation, he gave me, he said, your president, you're going on this trip for 2 weeks with this medical mission trip.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I hadn't gotten into medical school. Hadn't even applied yet, but it was like this trip after graduation. We spent I didn't know a single I hadn't even met that doctor. I had never even met before.
Really?
Never met him. Didn't know
This
anybody on the
OBGYN?
trip. This OBGYN, Dr. Hevron. His name is John Hevron. He goes by Bub.
Nice. I
Bub
love it
Hevron.
already.
So John Hevron, and then I didn't know anybody. So I was 22, I was 23, and I was going on this trip with all these people that I'd never met. And this not only this group of people I'd never met, a church community. Everybody goes to church together, and I was like this outsider.
You're the one guy.
And most of the other people from the trip had been before. So not only was I an outsider, but I also had never been on the trip, and I had never been to Nicaragua before. So we fly down.
I feel like an idiot.
Nicaragua. We went to
South America, right?
Central America. Yeah, we went to Jinotega in the city in Nicaragua. We flew into the capital's Managua. Yeah,
Yep, right there.
we flew into Managua, and then we went up to Jinotega in this northern part of the country.
Northwestern part.
Yeah, scroll back out, and it's up there on the right. There it is, right here.
Oh.
So that's where we were, and we stayed at this unbelievably beautiful hotel in Jinotega. I don't remember the name of the hotel. It's probably the nicest hotel in the city.
Keep going. Is this where you're at? Hospital Victoria Mata?
No, so we didn't go to a hospital. We went into the rural communities within the forest. So I think Nicaragua's number one export is coffee.
Sure.
And so we went
Central America, that's a big one. So
and
sure.
we went up into the mountains, and the first week we spent preparing to go up to the mountains, and then the second week we had 5 days we set up health centers in the middle of nowhere in the forest.
What do you mean by health center?
So they're
Like a little camp with like supplies and stuff like that?
So we went with, there were doctors and residents and nurses, all American, like from the church and from New Orleans, from the community. And we went and set up, I think there were probably 50 people that went, volunteers. And
it's a big trip.
We set up in the middle of the forest. Obviously, it's a very rural community. There are coffee beans everywhere, coffee plants. There's like one health center, like oh my God, what's the name of it? Centro de Salud is a health center. And there would be one for every maybe 30 or 40 miles.
Holy
so they
shit.
cover lots of people because the landscape is so expansive and remote. So then we would go to the health centers, and the first week when we were getting all of our supplies together, like medicines.
Pause. You say first week. Were you there for 10 days or 14 days?
2 weeks, 14 days.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
And then we had to not only fly all of the stuff down from New Orleans, but then once we were there, we had to get it so that we could, all the pills and medicines and injections and things we were going to be doing, had to get it so that we could put it in boxes to put in buses to take it to the forest.
Jeez, oh Pete.
And then we put up flyers the first week to let them know that we were coming back the next week.
Yeah.
Because on a normal day, the health center would only be seeing, certain 20 people a day or something, 30. I don't know how many people. But then we would come back the next week after we'd known we were there, and we were there all day. So the first part of the day, we would be setting up these tents, and then there would be literally hundreds of people that may have never seen a doctor before. May have never. Then we had dentists also, like dentists, doctors, nurses. There were women that would go see OBGYNs. Mm-hmm. There were pediatricians. It was like this.
So what were these people like? They're just like the general public. What would they come in for?
Anything and everything.
Really?
It was they just it's a perfect circle back to what we were talking about earlier, where you and I right now, we could walk to Walgreens, Schnucks, and we have access to unbelievable healthcare at our fingertips, and we can afford it, and it's close, and it's great medicine, and we have doctors that we see normally. In these rural communities in rural poor Nicaragua, they have such low health literacy, meaning they don't really see doctors because they don't even have access to doctors because they're working all the time.
Right.
What do? They work, they harvest, they're planting their coffee beans, they're harvesting them. Their lives are surrounded by the community that they have, and it's very poor community most of the times, at least where we were, the areas that we spent time in. And so the idea of a primary care doctor or the idea of going to see a dentist, there were some children that had never seen a doctor before, and they're grown, they're adults. They're 40 years old and have never seen a doctor before. There was a girl.
So who knows what they needed?
Everything.
Right.
There was a girl who was 6 years old who everyone in the community thought was deaf. And she couldn't hear anything very clearly. Like, obviously, in Nicaragua, they speak Spanish. So there were lots of translators. Peace Corps volunteers were also there. And then one of the doctors that was there just looked into her ears, and she just had earwax.
No shit. They just
cleaned it out, and it was as if a miracle happened. She wouldn't heard anything.
It's like literally just no one
earwax
cleaned out her ears
because she never.
That's kind of gross.
I mean, it's gross, but that's a perfect example of a very simple problem that could have been solved, but they don't have the access to the resources that we do.
They don't have that little microscope that can look in your ear.
Well, she'd never seen a doctor before.
Right.
They just don't like brush their teeth. Not because they don't know that that's the right thing to do. They don't have the access to toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, floss. They drink coffee all the time. It's just a totally different world.
It is 100%.
And it was an amazing experience for me because most of the traveling that I had done in my entire life before then was the trips that you and I have been on our whole life. It was vacation, beach, travel. We're with our families. We're with other people that are just like us. Traveling to places in very wealthy, very touristy places, for lack of a better word. And then this was the first experience where I was by myself. I was with a group of people that I didn't know very well, the people that were on the trip with me, who I ended up becoming great friends with. And then also in a community and in a place that I had never been in and was so unlike where I'd grown up. So in a different way, like your skydiving experience was like, this is a huge pivotal moment for me. Like, this is something that I've never done before. This was like, I can embrace something that's different and new. And it was super scary. And then at the end, 2 weeks later, I was like, this is an amazing place. And it made me want to travel more. So it was a great experience. And it also made me, I think the number one lesson that I learned from that trip
was going to ask you that.
Was being appreciative and thankful for what I have. Because that was the first time in my life that I had really, truly seen what a different part of the world looks like and what being poor looks like. And I have seen it. I see it in urban cities in New Orleans and in St. Louis.
This is a different ballgame.
But I had never experienced it.
Right.
Like when in St. Louis, for example, where we are, I see people that are not as lucky as we are, but I don't spend time in downtown St. Louis or spend time in neighborhoods that aren't like mine. I spend time where I live.
Right.
Whereas we were there for 2 weeks. And we got to spend and be there with them and listen to them and talk to them, which was a very different experience than I had ever had before. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about traveling is, despite all the differences that we had, the local Nicaraguans and Charlie, the white kid from St. Louis, was that
the gringo
was that we connected. Like, even though I speak very basic Spanish, and I spoke much better Spanish then than I do now. I wouldn't be able to even communicate very well right now if I went back.
I know some vocab words. That's about it.
Right. I would have considered myself then a proficient or basic speaker.
Yeah.
And there were just connections and similarities between us, between even little kids playing soccer with them. Like, something that's so simple proved to me that you can make connections with anybody. And we are so much more similar than we are dissimilar.
Absolutely. That's funny you say that, because Davis made the same exact point about his trip in Vietnam with soccer. Is it like, it doesn't matter where you are?
And it can be sports, it can be food. I remember similar experiences with eating the local food together. Like, they would the communities as a thank you to us would make food for us as like here, like thank you for coming and providing healthcare for us. And it was like the most unbelievably delicious food that I had never had before. And even if you can't communicate with someone very well, like language to language,
right?
Or I guess like oral communication or verbal communication, you can communicate with people through so many different ways just by eating food close to someone and enjoying
body language, expressions, whatever.
Right. And I loved that trip. And mission trips in general, like medical mission trips, aren't the solution to helping that community.
It's a good start.
I think it's tough because short term it's really great, and I don't know if it's long term the best solution for them.
But like perfect example, that girl with her ear.
Yeah,
like literally just like whether her knowing that she just needs to fucking take a sock or her shirt or her finger, just clean out her ear, that changed her life. Right. That arguably changed the trajectory of her life. And so even if it's just something as simple as that can go light years for somewhere.
And when
like
we were there was now that I'm like all these memories are coming back to me. There was a 16-year-old boy who his girlfriend had just broken up with him.
And a kid on the trip or a kid in Nicaragua?
A kid in Nicaragua.
Okay.
His girlfriend had just broken up with him, and he obviously the community we talked about was like all coffee based, and so they had these pesticides, and he tried to commit suicide by eating the pesticides.
Gosh.
So he comes in, and I will never forget, he was on his, like, had he not been brought to where all these doctors were, he would have died.
Good
like he would have
Lord.
died. And the doctors were there to save it. I was holding his legs down as the doctors like saved his life, which is just like unbelievable. I was speechless. I couldn't believe that it was happening. I'd never dealt with any experience like that before, where someone was truly dying and they helped him and they intervened, and they like stabilized him and got him into the city and put him on a car, and like he's now alive because of the people that were there.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
we made a difference. It isn't a sustainable difference, but it can make a big difference, and it did. I loved my trip, and I would recommend it to anybody to go. And you don't even have to be a medical background to go, because I didn't even have any knowledge then.
Right.
When I went, I was a 23-year-old,
just graduated
healthy.
college.
I was one of the most helpful people, because I just did manual labor, and I was helping build things and putting things together and doing.
It was the open-mindedness just to help. Didn't matter what it was.
Right. It wasn't that I had any knowledge to bring to the table other than I could speak basic Spanish and I could lift heavy things relative to the other people that were there.
People on a church trip, it could be fucking 50-year-old women. Who knows?
Yeah. Could be anybody.
That's awesome. Do you want to go back, or do you want to do something like that again?
Yeah, but I would want to go somewhere new that I haven't been. I would want to go somewhere else. And I also have
same kind of a medical mission trip?
I would, and I also...
Would you do it in relation to eyes?
Yes, but I would rather do it in relation to eyes, but I also have this tug of war battle between now my experiences and my time has changed from that trip to now, in the sense that there are so many people in the States here that need help.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the people in the States need help more than the people in Nicaragua. And I'm not saying that the people in Nicaragua need more help than the States. Everyone needs help.
Yeah.
And I think that I would
That's a great way
I would almost rather try to help my community before leaving. I think at the time that was the perfect trip for me. But now that I have the knowledge, I would rather give back locally if given a choice than to go.
No, that makes perfect sense.
I would want to do both. But if I could only do one, I would try to do it locally rather than globally.
That makes sense. Make an impact in your community first.
Because there are so many people that I see on a daily basis that can't afford their medications or can't come to the doctor or don't. Or it's just it feels like there's a lot of good that can be done here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good that can be done everywhere. And so as a member of this community, it would be great for me because I have the ability to help now. In a different way. I could still do what I did then, but now I have a different knowledge base that can help in different ways.
That's a good way to look at that. I like that.
Because I think a good mindset is help when you can and where you can. Doesn't necessarily have to be 1,000 miles
When
away
you
in the
can,
middle of
where you
nowhere,
can.
and 10,000 miles from here.
Right.
It could be in
Your backyard, your neighbor, whatever.
wherever.
Damn, that's good. I dig that. I had another question for you that I just lost it. It was from that. Kind of a pivot, but in the same lanes. How
Pivot.
in
Let's
your
pivot back.
in your eyes and your experience? So, in like the people that you see every day that need help here, what's going on with that? Why? What is it with our healthcare system that people aren't getting the help they need?
For whatever reason, the priority is
Because I know
of the health insurance companies.
I know nothing. So like,
Here's a perfect example of today.
right.
So there was a patient that came to see my boss a month ago, was diagnosed with her condition, and said, "This is what I want to do. This is the medicine that I want to treat you with to help you with the condition that you have."
Okay.
And my boss sent a paperwork to the insurance company to have it approved. So
I
that-
like these terms you're using because HIPAA.
right, yeah, paperwork,
like
right,
that,
yeah. So it's like send to the insurance company and
Right,
say,
right.
"Hey, will you pay for this medicine?" And they said no. You have to try this other medicine first before you pay for this medicine. And so then you're faced with a dilemma of, okay, do you have the patient pay maybe several $100s for the medicine that they need? Or do you provide them or treat them with the medication that the insurance company told you to use? And we did the latter because they can't afford the medicine out of pocket. And it's insane how the priority is, if you have health insurance, that's great, and you're going to get much better coverage. And at the same time, it's awful because they dictate everything.
That's fucked. So when you say health insurance, as in like your private health care or like Medicare and Medicaid?
Either.
Okay. And why?
It depends. Well, and there's even intricacies in between that because we're not old enough to have Medicare, and we make too much money to be on Medicaid. So we have to. I get health insurance from SLU as my employer. Most people get health insurance through their employer. Some people don't.
Right.
People that work for themselves don't. People that work as consultants or freelance workers, people that don't work full time usually don't get health insurance benefits. There's so many people that don't have health insurance because they don't get it from their work or they can't afford to pay for it. So what ends up happening is they go to the emergency room where they don't ask you about your health insurance. You just go. And in emergency rooms have the duty, they have to treat you and evaluate you and see what's going on. And so there's this horrific emphasis on health insurance companies and what they'll pay for, and they dictate everything.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah. And it's the classic haves and have-nots. You will have great health insurance. If you have great health insurance, you will be very healthy and you'll be taken care of and you won't have to pay for lots of things. And if you don't, you won't even be able to afford to go see the doctor, so you're not going to go. Do you have $100 to just go see the doctor? A lot of people don't.
Right.
If you have to pay $100 just to see the doctor, and then what about the medicines that you have? What if you need a surgery? What if you need a treatment and you don't have health insurance? You're just not going to get it, and you're not going to go. You can't afford it.
Right.
And that's insane because our system is set up in a way that you basically have to have health insurance, or you have to be super wealthy to be able to get good health care, because that's how it's set up. And I don't know why. I wish I knew why it was set up that way, but I just know that that's the reality of the current situation.
It's so fucking sad.
And if you don't, you just don't go, because of course not.
Because of course not. You have to eat before you go see the
If
doctor.
you're gonna feed and clothe and house your children or yourself before you're gonna go do this extra bonus thing. Well, it shouldn't be an extra bonus thing, but the way that the U.S. is set up is that it is. It's not a right.
How do you feel about that?
It sucks. It sucks. I don't have one of the things that bothers me about it is because I don't have the solution, but I know that
Right.
People can complain about problems all the time, and then
Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions.
Right, and I don't have a solution, and it's way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And
Because then you're getting into economics and politics.
Well, and it's selfishly, like, it benefits doctors because
Right.
they're, as a general rule, doctors are wealthy and well-to-do, and so it benefits them.
Right.
And so it's also like a double-edged sword. At the same time, I know that I would rather make less money. I know personally, like, as my opinion,
Yeah.
I would rather make less money to make my community a better place and give people opportunities that I never had. That I had that
That's
they
a great
never
viewpoint.
had. That I have had and always have had
That they won't.
as a growing up that people have never had before. There are people that I see that don't know who their parents are, that didn't get a chance to go to high school, there couldn't be any more different than the life that I lived. And it's not fair. I'm not saying I want everything to be fair. I'm saying it's just
Life's not fair, but
life's not fair, but there are people that are born on third base and there are people that are born on
Right.
first base.
Right. That's
And people that are
fucking great way to say it.
like, then I was born on third base, and I'm very lucky, and I'm very thankful and grateful and appreciative, and people would like,
Wow, I've never heard that. That was a great way to put that.
but it's a Barry Switzer. He was a football coach at the University of Oklahoma, and he said it in a derogatory way, but he said there are some people that are born on third base and think they hit a triple. Right? Like, there are people that think that
Yeah.
you've done all of this amazing things, but it's also like I'm a product of my environment, and like, I have worked very hard, but my parents and my grandparents
You're set up for
set up an amazing, provided for me an amazing opportunity to be where I am today.
Right.
And I know from the interactions that I've had with people that there are so many others that have not had that opportunity. And there are still people that fight through awful, terrible things to get to where they are. But I was raised in an unbelievably fostering, supportive environment with parents that were always there, grandparents that were always there. I had educational
System around
opportunities.
you.
I never worried about my next meal. I never worried about where I was living. My parents were always there for me. They prioritized me and my education and my life and my career before themselves. So like, they made it for me. I didn't do anything. I was just lucky.
I didn't. Yeah. No.
I was lucky. You're
with
just
that.
lucky.
I can agree with that.
And you're like, if you are born into a different situation, that sucks, and it's not their fault,
No, I'm totally with you.
right? And it's like, that sucks.
And there's so many.
I don't know, and I don't know the answer. I don't have the solutions. I'm not a socialist. I don't want everybody to have the same thing, but I can empathize with people
100%.
when they're like,
100%.
this sucks and it's different and it's harder and it's worse than it was for me.
Right.
And that is a parallel for lots of different other things too. Like, I've never been discriminated against in my life as an example, as a white man that is a heterosexual. I've never been discriminated against.
Right.
So I don't know what it's like to be an African American. I don't know what it's like to be a homosexual. I don't know what it's like to be a girl.
Right.
All of those other things, like, I've had it made for me, and I'm very lucky to have it that way.
Right. Right.
But I think the thing that separates me from a lot of different people, and not just me, that's just my viewpoint, is I can understand that it's different.
What do you mean?
Like, I can understand how, as someone that's in my situation, if I was an African American, or if I was black, or if I was a girl, or if I was like, my sexual orientation was different, that they would be discriminated against and have been.
Okay.
Like, their experiences have been different than mine.
Right.
Like, and that's what that I think is a key difference between people that are the same but we are the same but different. We have different experiences, and it's the way that we're treated is differently.
Makes sense.
And that's okay. And I'm not saying I know what it's like to be like them, but I know that it's not the same. Ever.
Right.
But I can understand, and I can say that I'm sorry and that sucks, and I hope to never be that way towards anyone and set an example for other people.
Right.
That's what the only thing you can do is control your own, control the only variable that you can control, which is yourself.
And how you make others feel.
Right. And not be like that to other people.
Yeah. Just don't be a dick, people.
Don't be a dick. You heard it here first.
That was really profound. I really liked that a lot. That was good.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm very lucky. I think that's going back to like being present.
Well, good on you of you being aware. Like that's like half the battle for people out there. Is it like they're just not aware of their actual life situation?
Well, and I think that I'm aware because of the experiences that I've had.
Right, and yes, absolutely.
Right, like full circle. You become awareness by listening to other people.
Right.
By listening to...
You're just hearing your own thoughts the whole time. You're never
Or similar thoughts. Like if you and I only hung out with each other, we would only know each other's thoughts. You live in an echo
chamber.
Right.
That was selfishly, that was like a big pushing factor for this bullshit was that I need to hear other people's perspectives and points of view to like, whether it's to validate or argue my own or to make me realize another one, because without hearing them, I'm not going to grow. I'm just going to think the same shit that could be nonsense or whatever.
Right. Well, it doesn't even need to be sensical or not, but listening to other people.
Right. Exactly.
And connecting with them.
Right.
Because I think one of the ways you become friends with someone is you spend time with them and you listen to them and you learn more about them.
Sure.
Right. That's what friends are. You're a friend with someone because you spend a ton of time with them and you listen to them and you have stories to talk about.
Right.
And you share stories. You just normally aren't in front of a microphone and in front of a video camera.
Sorry if it makes you uncomfortable, but yeah.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's fun.
Not at all.
It's good. I like this.
Yeah.
You want another drink?
Yeah, sure.
I like all that. That's good. I can't stand it. Obviously, most people can't, but like there are so many times where there's like, because like you are a product of your environment and how you're raised is a big factor of what you think and your perspectives on life. And it's really funny to see sometimes, like I'm sure you have friends that are just like super headstrong. And like whether it's one belief or all of their beliefs. And like it's not that they're right and you're wrong, but it's just like no matter what, you're not changing how they think. And it drives me insane sometimes.
Yes. Well, it's because they're different than you are.
Right. Totally different.
Right.
But like they're my friends, which is crazy.
Right. But you can be friends with people that you're not similar to.
For sure.
In personalities. I think that's what makes people sometimes the best of friends are because you'd kill each other if you were the same.
Absolutely.
If I was right, if my best friends aren't like me, I think that's because I think people seek out things that complement each other, or they seek things that they don't do very well. Like right?
Yeah,
like you seek, and it's not even you. I don't think we do it intentionally. I know that we don't. I think we do it unintentionally.
Yeah. Cheers.
We do it unintentionally, where we're like,
subconsciously.
Right, you become friends with someone because they may have different interests than you do, and you are interested in them, or they bring out a part of you that's not very similar. Like one of my buddy Zach, him and his wife Lauren, they play volleyball together because Lauren played in high school. I have never played volleyball in my life. I mean, grade school gym doesn't count.
Whatever.
No, but over the last year, I've been on their sand volleyball team. We've played now in 3 different leagues, and it's just been an amazing, like fun time to connect with them. And it's like an excuse to be with them. And I'm not friends with him because he plays volleyball, but it's like, this is the fun thing we do once a week. I've never done this before, but you guys like it, and I'm going to go do it because you like it so much, and now I like it, and we're having so much fun. And we won the Bar 101.
So you're kind of studs,
sand volleyball. Well, no, they are. I'm just on the team.
Sure.
Well, they all played in high school. So it's just different. But I think you subconsciously, like you become friends with someone and you don't really even know why sometimes. You just like, there's something about you that I like.
Funny story. Your brother, first day of school.
At Mizzou?
Yeah, first day, like not even first day of classes. First day we moved into the house.
Beta.
I just seen pictures of him and I was just like, fuck this kid. And
why?
I never met him ever, and he knows this. I've told him. Me and Jim have told him the story 100 times. I was like, I want to punch this kid in the face. And then first day, like I moved in. My parents had been gone for like maybe 5 minutes, and like I get a knock on the door and I open it. I just eye to eye with Davis, and I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I'm Davis." I'm like, "I'm Jack." He's like, "You want to be friends?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You want to go get booze?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And from there on, we've just been like attached at the hip.
So he gets credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But like at that time when that happened, he did not know that I felt that towards him.
Of course not.
And like for whatever reason,
he has a very punchable face.
I'm sorry, Dave.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's true.
I love you, but yeah, and it's wild because like I mean, you know me and you know him. Like, sure, we're similar, but we are wildly different individuals.
I wonder why. I'm sure there's some psychology studies or research or literature that shows like why do people become friends? Because
I know, right?
Why?
It's interesting.
And there are some because you could have just as easily been as close with Davis as you are with other people in your pledge class,
For sure.
and aren't. And it's not anything against them or you. It's just like circumstances. Like, why did Davis knock on your door? And like, and then also, but it's a two-way street because
That's a great. I don't
you
know.
didn't like him before. You like preconceived notions about him.
Yeah.
And you could have been like, "What's up, dude? Like, what are you knocking on my door for?"
Right. Yeah. Get the
And
fuck
then
outta here.
he'd be like, "I'm Davis." I'm like, "See ya," and you just slam the door.
But for whatever reason,
You were just it was felt right.
I don't know. I like
Like
that
why?
thought.
And it's like there's something about why do we?
I don't know.
Because it changed. Because your conception of him changed from the person you thought he was on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever,
Yeah.
to real life, to reality of. And I think that in this weird way, this is kind of goes back to like kind of what we're living through right now with COVID and everything is. Like there is something to be said about a connection in person, like a personal,
for sure, dude.
in person.
Absolutely.
Because we could be doing this from Zoom, and it would suck,
Nope.
and it's just not the same. And I can't tell you why. I don't tell the reasons. I don't know if it's being in the same room, like being in the same vicinity, like cheersing. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
But there's a difference, and I think that human connection is important, and that could be why you and Davis became friends.
I know that's so interesting to look at it like that because me and him were never roommates. Like we never shared because it was Jack and Jill style rooms. We never like shared a bathroom or anything. And like even the kids that I roomed with, whether they live in St. Louis, like some of my best friends live in Kansas City, Chicago, wherever the fuck. And like it didn't like even if the kids that I roomed with live in St. Louis for whatever reason, whoever I'm friends with is who I'm friends with. And I've never actually like sat down to think about, excuse me, why that is.
Yeah, and I think about it too. And
Sorry.
no, I think about the same thing because I was in a fraternity at Tulane, and I had friends that were in my fraternity, also great friends that weren't in my fraternity. And most of the time, like most of them were friends with me because I lived with them on our freshman dorm room hall.
Right.
But there were lots of other guys that I didn't become friends with on my freshman room hall. But like, why them and not the other people?
I don't know.
It's not as simple as like similarities and differences.
No, it's not.
There's something they're more than that, and it's like it's a reciprocity, right? You can want to be friends with someone if they don't want to be friends with you. That's the end of that conversation.
But that's literally like how it works out. Like let's say, like you or Davis and like one of my good buddies, they're like also like a fan of soccer, right? And like you're a Chelsea fan, right?
Yeah.
And so like I could have a buddy.
Champions.
I could have a buddy that's like a
Champions League
Chelsea
champions.
guy that's also in residency that also loves to drink beer on the weekends. And like at the basis level, like you guys are very similar people. But you could I could introduce you guys to
Hate each other.
Exactly.
Hate.
Right.
Hate. Probably hate him anyway.
hate, loathe.
Entirely.
But it's like, and like you always hear that about like people that get set up on dates. Like, oh, you would love my friend. Like you guys are so similar. And you mean it's like this was never fucking gonna work out.
Right, and that's
I made
there's
that-
no way.
Let's go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I actually made that. I saw it was a video that I saw somewhere, but this dude like he was in the shower, she was in the shower or something, and the other one was just like standing outside, just like ranting. And I listened to it. And I made the point to my girlfriend that it's like, for whatever, like we've been dating for almost 4.5 years now, and like for whatever reason, like we just really, really like each other. We love each other, but we are like not similar. Like we like watch the same shows and like we just laugh at the same shit, but we are so wildly different from each other.
Right, but you said it before, like you do have like you have to search and find the similarities because they're there. Right, and we think that we're so different and we have these unique interests, and at the end of the day, it all comes back to like what makes you happy. And if there are things that in like the Venn diagram of like Jack and Brittany that overlap, you're gonna embrace those things together.
Right.
And you do, because there are shows and movies and music and all of there are enough things that are there that make up for whatever differences there are.
For sure.
Right? Because at the end of the day, and then the most important thing is your relationship, like with each other. And if you love each other, which you do, then that is the most important thing. And then everything else is bonus.
Right.
It's like bonus stuff.
Everything
You like both watching The Bachelor. Maybe you don't like watching The Bachelor, but Brittany likes watching The Bachelor, and you want to make Brittany happy, so you watch it with her because you love her, right? Like it's easy to make things happy. It's easy to like find a connection there.
Yeah.
It's easy to find a similarity, even though it feels like you're very different. You're very similar. Like you and Davis are different in personalities, but on paper you're very similar.
Exactly.
And you do like a lot of the same things and have some of the same interests, and it's not that hard to figure out. You know what I mean? But I feel like sometimes because you
it's
are
not that hard to figure out.
Right? Well,
No, it's not.
It is, but what I mean by that is like
that's hilarious.
Because you guys are such close friends, you know so much about each other, just like you and Brittany. You know so much about each other that it feels like they're different because you have this like encyclopedia of things you know about that person, and you're like, all of this shit's different than me.
Did you ever take this is all psychology. Did you ever take psychology classes?
I did, but Psych 101.
Yeah, same. I wish I would.
I don't think that counts. I think everybody that goes to college takes Psych 101.
Yeah, I think you have to.
It feels like you do.
I wish that was more like psychology and like human psychology, behavioral psychology. I wish that was more of an emphasis in general throughout high school and college. Because my little sister, I'd love to have my little sister on here because she's majoring in psychology, minoring in Spanish. And I would love to pick her brain on this kind of shit because it is so wild and like you don't even think about one thing and there's just like some minute intricacy of why you feel this way and why you think that way and how it ties into like all of this. And it's so mind-boggling to me that like people say that like all cops should take like psychology courses because like most disputes, whether it's like me arguing against you in fucking
FIFA.
Yeah, whatever. It's like all broken down into just like small thoughts and conversations of how it even came about. And I just find it so interesting.
I think even more basically than that is like everyone should try to learn more about each other.
Right.
And it's
you don't even know how my brain works. Just learn about me.
Right, but that's a great example of like on the job training that doesn't feel like it applies to the job that you're doing, but it does every day in every situation that they have. Right? Like
that's all sales is. That's all sales is, just understanding the person across from you.
Right. Everyone would benefit from that training if it was real and legitimate. And I think everyone would benefit from being more empathetic towards other people.
Yes.
Oftentimes, right? Everyone in every situation would be better if like I can understand where you're coming from and how this is not okay, or I can understand. I may have never been in that situation before, but I can understand how this looks from your perspective. It's so hard to do that. It's so much easier for us to just sit here and say that about other people, and at the same time, putting yourself in someone else's shoes is so powerful. To be like, okay, this is an uncomfortable situation for me. How does it make you feel? And listening to them and just being like, how can I help you? What do you think? And no matter whether you're in sales, whether you're a cop, a fireman, a doctor, a lawyer, a business person, a CEO,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you can empathize with someone else, a client, a patient,
anyone,
right?
Anyone. I mean, like literally, it's like the whole thing. Like, doesn't matter who it is. It could be the bus driver. Like, for 1 second, put yourself in their shoes. And if they're in a pissy mood, who knows
what's going on,
how their day's going. Put yourself in their shoes for half a second.
Going back to this morning, there was a patient that came in, and I walked in, introduced myself. I'd never met this woman before. She's 47. I said, "How are you doing?" My name's Charlie. I'm Dr. Hurth. I'm a resident. I'm here to see you. Like, how are you? How have you been? Instantly starts crying, hysterically crying.
No way.
Not consolable, crying. And I grabbed a box of tissues and I'm like listening to her. I'm like saying, I'm so sorry. Like, what happened? And she just recently had like a huge medical condition that has prevented her from like working. So she's not working and she's going to doctor's visits like every other day. And she's just completely overwhelmed. And had I not asked, like, a question that I ask everybody, I could have just been like, oh, run through the motions, walked out, and never even.
Are you so-and-so? Write this down, check this off,
and
follow
see you
me.
later.
Yeah.
Bye. It could have been a routine, like, and I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't want it to happen, but it was just like a simple check-in with someone that probably you don't know the last time anyone's checked in on them.
Right. She might have not heard how are you for the past.
Who knows how long.
Right.
And she just
48
like, the
hours,
door
call it
open.
3 months. Who knows?
The door was open, and she just ran through it, and it was not fun to like be there, but she needed someone to be there, and she wanted someone to ask, and I just happened to be the person that asked. And most of the time it's like, I'm good, how are you? You know, it's like small talk bullshit. Like, fine, I'm here. Like the dumb jokes that people say when they come in, and like that's fine and dandy too. Like they're in a good mood, and then sometimes you never know what you're gonna get when you are talking to someone or what they're going through, unless you ask and listen. And then that happened, and luckily she felt better, and like at the end she wasn't crying hysterically, and it was good, and we like talked about it for a little bit, and then she felt better.
She probably walked out of there with just a massive weight lifted off her shoulders too.
Well, right. I think, and she was probably just wanted to talk to someone.
Yeah,
and
just wound
sometimes
up.
you don't even need to. You don't even know that you want to talk to someone until someone asks you, like, "How are you?
Right.
Like, what's going on?"
She might have just needed to literally.
So that's PSA to the Joe Show. Call someone and see how they're doing.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Give your homies a call. Check up on your homies.
Check up on the homies that you think you haven't talked to in a while.
Also, call your mom more. Everyone needs to call their mom more. I've read that.
Is anyone still listening?
Yeah, probably not. Whatever. I'll send that to my mom. But like, yeah, it's like she might have literally just needed to get 2 paragraphs off of her chest, just like how I was saying in the kitchen. Like I was like, wow, this literally cleared up a lot of shit. Just like say all this out loud, and like she like no one had asked her, let alone all of her thoughts in her head. She probably just needed to verbally say them, just be like,
and now I feel better.
Right, exactly. And it's surprising, like people don't understand how far that can go.
And you also, that's a perfect like cliche of you don't judge a book by its cover. Just because someone is putting on a show and appears as if they're doing well, they may not be. And it's not good to assume that everything's just fine and dandy unless you ask.
Right, for sure.
As I feel like there's certainly a pressure. I feel it and it's like, it's not something that a pressure that I feel, but it's just like, oh, you just kind of have to go through the motions and be happy. And how are you? Good? Like, not bad, fine. It's hard to be honest when you're like, oh, you know, I'm actually terrible today. Like, I don't remember, it's just like, and it's not because I haven't felt terrible, but it's just like, I'm good. Like, I'm fine. Like, how are you? It's just, there's a social pressure to just
stigma
to like be okay.
Yeah.
It's like you want to be okay. It's not there's a total stigma to not be like, you know what? I'm having a horrible day. I had a bad night. I'm feeling sad. Like, you don't hear that very often.
No, never.
You don't. You're just like,
and when you do hear I'm having a terrible day, that person's about to snap. Like,
maybe.
Like in my experience, like in like exactly the stigma we're talking about. Like usually when someone's at the point of when they're saying I'm terrible, like my day's awful.
It's been bad for a while.
They're like boiling, and it's like, oh boy, are you good? Are you good?
Are you really good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Like, can I leave or do I need to stay? Because I can stay. I don't know. I think it's a good reminder is when you don't like. Good friends help out when things aren't going well. Because it's easy to be a friend to someone when things are going well. When you get a promotion, when you get married, when you have a kid, when good things are happening, everyone's rallying around cards, gifts, thank yous, like, congratulations.
Right.
But you have to rally around your friends, or you should rally around your friends when they are sad, when they are down, when they are fired, when something terrible has happened, when they lose a loved one, then they get broken up with, when they break up with someone, when bad things happen, when they like something. That's when the people that care about you are like, I'm here and I can help.
Right. Absolutely. And it's like, it's so cliche, but like in today's world, like you just hear about like mental health. And it's like, even in my own personal experience, like it's crazy how just taking one day away from work or just like one day away from just like not doing anything just like helps you out so much.
Oh my gosh, I know. And the sad truth, but the reality is mostly everyone is replaceable.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Mostly everyone.
For sure.
And I don't say that to belittle anybody or anything. You and I are both replaceable. If we weren't at our jobs,
if you die, your job posting's there within 48 hours. Sorry, people.
And that is not to say that your job isn't worth it, isn't important, isn't valuable, isn't.
Right.
It's all of those things.
Right.
And at the same time,
you matter for sure. Not saying that.
And your job matters.
Right.
You matter. Your job matters. The people
Right.
you work with matter. Your company matter. Everything. And also, it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Like our Davis and I's big cousin, our eldest cousin Charlie, also named Charlie, which is kind of funny. We have a cousin named my name.
Aren't there like 4 or 5 of you?
Well, I'm the fourth.
You're the fourth, and then there's him.
And there's him, so there are 5 of us. But Charles Hurth Sr. is deceased.
Okay.
So there are 3 Charles Hurths that are alive, and a Charlie Kuhn, who's my cousin.
Keep going.
So Charlie Kuhn,
Yeah.
shout out to Charlie Kuhn, he is a big proponent of saying yes and. Oftentimes in
What do you mean?
in our world we live in, it's oftentimes binary. Like you're either this thing or you're this or that.
Ah, okay.
But for example of what we were just talking
Binary.
about, right? You're either
Yeah,
one or the
yeah,
other.
yeah, exactly.
And then it's oftentimes life is more complicated than that. You
Way
can be
more.
your job matters, and it's also not the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not just your job matters or doesn't matter, and then you go from there. It's like, no, your job matters, the work that you do matters, and at the same time, you matter. And so if you are struggling, you need to take some time away from work, because the time away from work actually makes you a better worker when you're at work.
Right.
If you're always working forever, there are going to be diminishing returns.
And if how we're replaceable, like if it's that and like, but at the same time our job matters, and like if they're able to do that 2 days, then we can take a day, and like where you just like do nothing, and like you recharge, you relax, you need it.
The next day after the recharge, you're going to be better at your job than the day before.
I bet you're 100 times better than the past 2 months that next day.
Yeah.
For sure. And like I'm a big proponent of the 3-day weekend, because I think as far as like business
7-day weekend. Jack Orban, the Joe Show, baby.
Yeah, it's nonstop. We drink
7 days,
all
baby.
day, every day. But like in the business world, like whether it's sales or management, or I can't speak for doctors because obviously you guys are on the clock always. But like when it
But not right now.
right? But like in like the general sense of working, like the 2-day weekend is like, why? If you get your shit done, you get your shit done. I don't see why, and it bothers me so much when people are just like, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done. And then Saturday I have this, and Saturday I have this, and Saturday I have this, and then Sunday like maybe I can do this, but like I have to finish this project. It's like, nah, dude. Saturday and Sundays you don't do anything, and like take your time, and like that's your time. And like I think in like these studies that I've read of like Microsoft Japan and like Switzerland, and I think Norway's doing it too, where they're like implementing permanent 4-day work weeks, and they're seeing productivity shoot through the roof. And it's just that one extra day of people's mental health just being able to completely reset.
Yeah.
Because like, let's just say like your weekend is your normal weekend, but then like Friday
gets better. No work on Friday.
Thursday night is now your Friday night, and Friday night is now your Saturday night. And then Sunday is just like a total, just like every single weekend, just a total reset for your next week. It
is your philosophy,
yes.
which is important because I think that everyone works differently and in different environments, and there are people that no matter how much time you give them away will always be working
for sure,
right?
for sure.
And they're like, that's because that's who they are.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's wired differently.
Right. And because they're wired differently, they work differently. And I think there are a lot of people that are like you. Like your philosophy isn't some novel concept. No. Obviously people already do it. Yeah. Right. And I think you would probably flourish in it, and other people would probably drown in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
No,
when you're king of the world or CEO of the Joe Show.
No, dude, when I'm president of the United Nations, it's immediate. One world order, baby.
Right. And then And I think that's one of the things I've learned as I've grown up is that
Everyone's different.
Everyone's different, and because of their differences, have different opinions, have different values, different philosophies, work ethic. And work ethic is very interesting because I think people think that the more that if you're working longer or hard, if you're working more like time, longer hours, that you're working harder than someone else.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But I feel like that's a general conception of people is like, if you work 7 days a week, you must be a harder worker than someone that works 5 days a week or 4 or 3 or whatever, when it's not, doesn't matter. Because there are people that I know that can get done things in 6 hours that other people can do in 2.
Right.
And so it's comparing those two things are very different. And it's like, that's not to say that the 6 hour person is working harder or the 2 hour person is working less or the 2 hour person is working whatever. Like, it doesn't really focus on yourself and get the things done that you need to get done in the time in which you can get it done. If you're your own boss, work whenever you want. And unfortunately, most people are employees and they have deadlines and things that are made for them.
Right.
And that's going back to like, if you don't love the job that you're doing and you don't like it and you don't want to be there, then hopefully you have the resources to be able to leave that company and do something else because it's really not worth it. And I am very lucky that I'm not in a job that makes me miserable because there are a lot of people that are and they feel like they're stuck.
Yeah, not a lot of people are that lucky. But that's my whole thing is like I learned it in my first job out of school is that like us salespeople were like we were required to be there 9 to 5 and then these like the people writing the code like they didn't have hours. Some of them would show up at 10 in the morning, some of them would show up at 12:30, some of them would show up at 4 and leave at fucking 11 at night. Like, and it was like, I was like, I feel that because just because whatever I'm doing is working for me doesn't mean there shouldn't be a standard for everybody because the standard's not always the best way for anything.
Correct.
Right. And like, I learned that at this tech company, I was like, damn, like they're crushing their work because they're doing it when they can do it and whenever they're most productive. Like there are people that are like, you know, the whole fucking 4 a.m. club, the 5 a.m. club, like you're most productive in the morning. Okay. Maybe you're a morning person. Maybe you're just like nocturnal and like you just crush shit from the hours of 8 p.m. to fucking 4 in the morning. Like you should not be.
I'm asleep at 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. I'm asleep.
Yeah. Same. Right.
When I sleep.
Sun goes down. I go down. That's how I am. But like you shouldn't, I don't know. It's just a big frustration with me when, like all these people are like, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's like, well, if I get it done, why does it matter?
There's the driving force in society.
Sorry, I was relating back to mental health and like.
No, but I'm saying that there's a driving force in society to maintain the status quo.
Right, for sure.
Change sucks, and change is hard, and change is different. And so because the work week
change is hard.
Whenever the work week was established to be 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 40-hour work week.
Henry Ford.
Whenever that was right, whenever Henry Ford created that or developed that time frame, that's just been the way that it is.
Yeah, right. Status quo. It was easy to roll with it for everyone.
And you look at companies that are flexible and adaptive, and they're the most successful companies.
Right, exactly.
They adapt and change towards the workforce that they want to provide. And there are companies that do well, and they're going to keep doing that because they're going to attract the people that they want to. Right? If you're attracting the candidates and the job and the employees that are productive and get the jobs done and get the work done that you want them to achieve, they do that. And I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. From what I've heard, you're never going to seek out a job that's like that 9 to 5 thing because it's not the way that you work, right? And it's nice that you have that ability and you recognize that about yourself,
right?
Because there are lots of people that would want to try and force that on themselves, even though they know that that's not the right thing for them.
And like I was tying this way back to the mental health thing because like I put that thing in my story the other day of like what are some stuff like people want to talk about and like
how are your responses for that?
Interesting, all over the place. Like name it and someone said it, but like one that was said a few times is mental health, and I was like, wow, that
was like one of the most.
It wasn't the most. It wasn't the most said, but it was the one that stuck out to me the most because like in like today's world, like that's like a super heavy topic when in reality it shouldn't be. And like this whole thing that we're talking about, like, I don't know, I don't even remember how we got on all this, but we were talking about mental health before this, and I was going to tie it all back to that.
I think that it's something that's sometimes can be an embarrassing topic, and because it's embarrassing to say to someone else that you are sad or depressed or anxious about something, it's uncomfortable.
Right.
It can be embarrassing. It can be humiliating to be like, I am not okay. That's really hard to say about anything. Right. It's hard to say about...
It's embarrassing to say you're not good at something. No one likes being not good at something. Whether
Correct.
It's your health or whatever.
Yeah, and it's also embarrassing to say, not only am I not good at something, but I'm terrible at this thing. And I am embarrassed and like I'm sad, or I'm like can't stop thinking about something. Like it's a super uncomfortable topic. And because we all are like conform to like society's like norms of trying to be a normal person,
right?
Normal in air quotes of like, I don't know what that even means, but because of that exists in our culture, that leads us to be like, this is not a normal thing for us to talk about. Why is it not normal? Because it's not something that we regularly do. If it was commonplace for us to talk about our feelings,
as it should be,
then it wouldn't be uncomfortable, because we'd be like, oh, well, I'm sad, and Jack is sad, and Davis is sad, and Jimmy's sad, and
let's talk about it.
And Charlie's sad, and then it would be this dialogue that would be open and available. And we have so much work to do to get to that point, because it's a lot of people, and I think I would consider myself one of those also, like, it's a super private thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, I think juggling like the privacy and also the honesty of like, not that you're lying to someone by saying you're good, but you kind of are. Well, if you're not, and you say that you are, like you are kind of...
It's a thin line.
You're not telling the truth.
Right.
And at the same time, you're also, do you want to tell your coworker that you may not be friends with, like,
right,
I'm super sad and I'm depressed and I'm going through a lot. That is a lot tougher to say, in my opinion, than I'm fine, I'm good. How was your night? How are the kids? How's the fam? How's the wife? How's the life? And yet, at the same time, I know that I have benefited from talking to people about the things that make me most uncomfortable.
Right.
Right. And you can only grow when you,
that's what I was about to
right.
say.
You can only grow when you talk, when you're like, I admit that I fucked up.
You got to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
To then look back and be like, it was really hard, but then I did it. Right. Kind of like your skydiving thing. It was super hard and I did it, and now I'm glad that I did it.
Right. Right.
It's uncomfortable. Like there was my athletic director in high school, his saying or quote was like, lean into discomfort.
Absolutely.
Like lean into it and embrace it, because then when you embrace that discomfort, it becomes comfortable.
See where it's going to take you.
It's going to become comfortable.
Right.
If you do something that you've never done before, talk about your feelings, talk about how other people are, then it becomes commonplace and it's not uncomfortable to talk about.
Right.
Or do something you've never done before.
Right.
If you do it again, it's like, this is commonplace. And yet and it's hard, because I of course want everyone's mental health to be better. I think everyone benefits, like selfishly, for our community, for our friends, for our family. Everyone would be better. And it's also it's a very sensitive topic, because it's like, how can you be more vulnerable than that? It is other than like talking to someone about like who you love, being vulnerable and saying like, I'm really not okay, is super hard to say.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree.
Like maybe it's the hardest thing to say.
I would concur. And I feel like, I don't want to speak for other people, but I feel like a lot of the times the people that have the hardest time of saying I'm not okay are like when they say they're not okay, but they're like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. And then like externally someone hears, okay, they're good, like, do you want to go do something? And then that person that wasn't able to say I'm not doing well
reinforces they just have to keep going on with the lie,
and then they can't say no, and so then they go do that, and then they're just like, they got to put on this whole facade, and it exponentiates even more and more and more and more, and and
then it just gets buried.
Right. Yeah, bottle that shit up, never bring it up again. And it's so sad. And I mean, I've done it. I've done it.
I've done it. Yeah.
Right.
And you're not, it's hard because there are different, I feel like I know from my personal experience being asked how I am, I might give 10 different answers to 10 different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you ask me versus my parents, versus my coworkers, versus my new friends, versus my old friends,
versus 10 in the morning, versus 4 in the afternoon,
it
versus
constantly
noon.
is changing.
Right. 100%.
But I think in the moral of our our discourse here is it's okay to not be okay, because that recognition and self-awareness to other people is super helpful to them, but also to you. And I remember it was like last October, I just gotten through a relationship, and then my grandma died all in the same time. And it was like a week.
I'm so sorry.
And I was like, the best feedback I got was from different people saying it's okay to not be okay. And I didn't really know what that meant.
You can feel sad. It's all right.
Right. And I didn't know what that meant. And then I was like, there would be times grieving the death of my grandmother. And then my other grandmother just recently passed away. And I was like, fuck, this sucks. And I got better at grieving because I had gone through it before, and I've lost now both of my grandmothers and my grandfather. And now it's like I know how I grieve, but I'm only good at grieving because I've done it before. I wish that I had never grieved before.
No one wants to grieve. No one wants grief on their mental.
Never.
But you need it.
There was a great clip, and if anyone's still listening, they have to watch this video. So Stephen Colbert was interviewed by, oh my God, Anderson Cooper. It's going to be too many minutes for this, but it's Anderson Cooper interviews Stephen Colbert.
I want to watch it anyways.
And
you untold story by Anderson.
It's this one. It's here. So I don't think anybody, you may not know this, but people may know this. So Stephen Colbert, when he was growing up, he was in a big Catholic family, and
I knew he was a big Catholic.
His dad and two of his brothers, or several of his brothers, I think he had 8 of them total. Maybe there were 10 siblings total in the Colbert family. These are all, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the exact numbers. But when he was growing up, his dad and several of his siblings died in a plane accident.
Holy shit.
When he was, I think he was 10.
Colbert's family?
Colbert's.
Wow.
Colbert's dad and siblings died.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
And in this interview, this happened to be right after Anderson Cooper's mom had just died.
This interview happened
after Anderson Cooper's mom died. So Anderson asked Stephen Colbert about grieving, and he had the most beautiful answer. And I paraphrase because I've watched this 1,000 times.
Yeah, paraphrase. Here, I'm gonna.
So Colbert says he is most grateful for the thing that he wished not have happened. And what he means by that is he is not glad that his dad died and his siblings died, but he is glad that it happened because he suffered. Obviously, he suffered tremendous, this huge loss. Your dad, your brothers, and then because of the fact that he suffered this unbelievably terrible, tragic thing, he's able to connect with other people that suffer, and they can connect on a level that he never was able to before. Wow. And empathize with other people. Wow. So, and I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Jeez.
And so I remember leaning on that when I was suffering, when my grandma died, and then that was my mom's mom, and then just recently my dad's mom passed away in September. And it's a gift to have known them and to have loved them and to grieve for them. And now when other people are suffering, I can say to myself, I've been there before. And because I've suffered this horrible loss of these people that I've loved and the same thing that he's done, I can now connect with someone else that is going through that similarly and be like, I love you and I'm here for you and I care for you.
Right.
Because having never gone, and he really reiterates the point. Of course, no one wants anybody to die.
Right.
Especially as a young boy, their parents and their siblings.
Yeah.
But because he has learned, and now this is 40 years later, 50 years later, as an adult with his own family and his own children, can say, what I've learned from this is because I suffered this unbelievable thing, I know that other people suffer and are going through other things, and I can connect with them on a level that is I could have never connected before.
Never imagined. And that's probably, I mean, you're saying it, but like I'm imagining that's arguably one of the more impactful things, and like one of the things that took him down the road that he's on now.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think he quotes Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, because he said it's like the quote's like, I'm grateful for the thing that I wish. I'm messing it up. I'm grateful for the thing that I wish had least happened to me. Like the worst thing ever. I'm grateful for it. And Anderson Cooper's like, his mom had just died, and Anderson Cooper's like, get the fuck out of here. Like you don't really mean that. And he's like, no, I do mean it. Jeez. But you can see it's like a great example because you can see Cooper is actively grieving and suffering, and Colbert
he's saying what he does not want to ever have to deal with.
Correct, and he's like, "There's no way that you really believe that. Right. Like, there's no way that you are thankful for the fact that your dad died." And Colbert's like, "No, I am. I don't wish that my dad died, but because of that experience, I've grown and learned, and now can connect with people that I never would have been able to before."
God, that's some profound shit.
I know, and
my Lord.
Right, and I was like, Stephen Colbert, I just think of him as like Jon Stewart, Comedy Central, Late Night, a goofball. He makes so many people laugh and happy, and he still does, but it was a profound thought that I'd never thought of before. And the only reason that I think I connected with that is because of the suffering that I went through and was going through when I found it.
With your grandma and all that.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Grief sucks, but
it's needed.
You can only grieve. So you can only grieve because good things have happened, right? Let's say hypothetically you have a.
It's the whole thing with the highs and the lows. You don't know how high is without the lowest lows, and vice versa. And
also, like, you don't miss people. Like I was very lucky to have a relationship with all of my grandparents, all four of them, and had amazing relationships with all of them. And some people never like. Some people they die before their grandparents die before they're born, or they die when they were young. Right? Yeah. And so, like, how could I would not be doing myself a service if I was complaining about it. Like, I'm very lucky. And my grandparents were great people. They could have been assholes. Yeah. And I would have been like, they would have died, and I wouldn't have cared that they would have died. So you grieve something that you loved and cared about. Right. And you don't grieve over things you don't miss. Right. Or don't care about.
Right. You grieve over stuff that brought you happiness.
Right. You grieve over stuff and you look back and you're like, I wish they were still here. Not good riddance. You don't grieve bad things or bad people. I'm not gonna grieve a dictator.
No, we're not grieving the Holocaust. Well, God damn,
anyway,
man.
Here we are.
That's good. I got nothing else for you.
Let's wrap it up.
This is good.
Cheers.
2 hours and 8 minutes.
Cheers. Boom.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Love you. Appreciate you. This was good. This was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I hope you had fun.
I did have fun.
2 hours and 8 minutes.